Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. This is Brandon from Free State, Colorado. Hope you're having a great end to 2024. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hope you get some time off work. Unfortunately, it's not such a great time in Denver. The Denver City Council is just totally moving in the wrong direction, and I would have to say that Denver might be moving into a doom loop. Now, I'm sure it's not surprising. You've probably seen the headlines of these last few months, these last few years about the problems facing Colorado's capital city here. I'd love to see Denver. I really wish it was this beacon of prosperity. I wish that there was freedom there. I wish people were doing well there. But unfortunately, we have violent gangs terrorizing the citizens, people getting shot and robbed, walking their dogs, armed criminal organizations taking advantage of Colorado's sanctuary state law, Denver sanctuary city law, and the pretty much non existent enforcement of drug laws. Homelessness camps are plaguing the city, taking over a lot of the open space and public areas. And then millions of dollars are being unaccounted for. Millions of dollars spent on the homelessness issue can't be accounted for according to a recent audit. So where's this money going? Well, you can guess. Low commercial occupancy rate, I'm sure, ties into all of this. Just this last August, the city had a record 34% vacancy rate, which isn't too surprising when you see the crime, the homelessness. Who wants to work down there if you don't have to? And then the inflation and the affordability issues are making life a lot more difficult for working families. We see school enrollment going down. So people are leaving the city because they're struggling to afford living there. And unfortunately, mental illness is having a serious toll across the state of Colorado. A new report came out recently showing Colorado is one of the worst states for suicidal thoughts, for mental illness in general. And, that's really not helping the situation down there in Denver. So, of course, the city council is making some decisions that I would say are moving the city in the wrong direction, not really addressing the core issues of what they should be focused on, instead, focusing on some fringe special interest type of programs that don't really benefit the people of the city. For example, just this last week here, December 16th, the Denver City Council passed a law, an ordinance outlawing, that's right, outlawing the sale of flavored tobacco for adults in the city. So an adult in Denver in 2026 will not be able to buy menthol cigarettes, flavored vapes, you name it, all these tobacco products that adults can no longer buy legally. You can go buy your legal marijuana, you can get some mushrooms, fentanyl's probably relatively easy to get, but they draw the line at flavored tobacco. Absolutely and utterly ridiculous, a total insult to the dignity of individual adults living in the city. Of course, there's new costs being put on businesses. The crime issue is so bad that the Denver city government is requiring businesses to put more lighting in. So, of course, they're just passing the cost along to these businesses, saying, hey, you need to light up your parking lots. You need to put more lights up to try and deter some of this crime, making it a little bit more expensive to operate a business in the city. Eliminating parking minimums. This is an idea being floated at the city council. We saw earlier this year the state legislature eliminate basically these requirements at the state level, and Denver wants to take it even further. So that's right, new high density housing, commercial properties, and no place to park. You can ride the dangerous light rail that's constantly breaking down, get on a bus, risk exposure to fentanyl or maybe getting robbed, get to deal with some gang members or some homelessness issues down there. So bad situation. You're only going to deter people from coming down to the city to do business, to shop, to go to any event. Sidewalk fees. Now, I know this was a ballot measure, but nonetheless, the city council is not making it any better. So, if you're a homeowner, property owner in Denver, you're going to pay for some sidewalk maintenance. This adds up, right? These costs, these fees, it adds up, it adds up. New taxes add up, making life very unaffordable for most people. And of course, the mayor and city council will not cooperate with federal immigration authorities, giving free rein to these violent gangs who are using these loose immigration laws to their advantage, coming in from over the border, out of state, and victimizing people in their own community. Unfortunately, we've seen that recently with this whole Venezuelan gang issue. And of course, federal authorities want to do something about it, but the mayor and the council say, "Hey, we're not going to help you." And then believe that, catch this, if you hard to believe, but maybe not hard to believe with everything else going on, but there's this new needle exchange law that they're going over, 24-1791 from the Denver City Council to amend city code allowing needle exchanges closer to schools. There's any reason you need to get out of the city to not let your kids go to public schools, government schools down there, well, you'll have needle exchanges just that much closer to your schools where your kids are going. So absolutely ridiculous. The city council is making bad decisions. So, what is a doom loop? What is a doom loop? What does that mean? So, here's a quote here from a professor at Tufts, the Department of Urban and Environmental Planning and Policy. He says, quote, "The definition of an urban doom loop presumes that as more residents leave the city and less development occurs, the revenue stream, the property tax, diminishes often rapidly. The doom is the loss of revenue, and the loop is the vicious cycle that becomes difficult to stop." So as people leave the city, as businesses leave the city, you lose tax revenue, you lose those people who are investing in the city, then the city has less money. The city has less resources. The people don't have the resources to turn things around, and it just becomes a cycle of moving further and further down. The more people they push out of the city, the more businesses they push out of the city, the more you can expect this doom loop to accelerate. So I'd say maybe we are experiencing a doom loop in Denver. Let's see. So we see A, people and businesses are leaving the city, schools are closing. I was making some big headlines earlier this year, which means B, revenue growth is slowing down. A recent article shows that the slowest in 14 years, not including the COVID year of 2020, but revenue growth is slowing down as people and businesses flee. Sales tax is decreasing because who wants to go down there? So then C, the city doubles down on policies that raise costs and drive out businesses. So pushing tobacco companies out, making life a little bit more expensive, pushing out places for people to park. So D, the question remains, will more people and businesses leave as these bad policies continue and accelerate? And then eventually you see the spiral down, down, down it goes. So, I think there's ways to turn things around. I am an optimist. I think if people get organized, if we have people getting involved and showing up, we can make a positive impact. So, I think the biggest thing really to turn Denver around is stopping the crime. And that's on everybody. Figure it out. I don't know the exact solution, of course, but stopping the crime issue is probably the biggest priority there in terms of keeping people in the city, cleaning things up, and providing a safe, better place for everyone. The counselors, I mean, sorry, but Denver City councilors, you got to be replaced with pro business and pro homeowner representatives of your community. If you're against homeownership, if you're against businesses, then you're only contributing to this doom loop. And there's got to be this renewed sense of community, right? This ownership and pride in the city where people are taking care of their lawns, people are taking care of their neighborhoods, people are helping each other out. That's really what it's going to come down to. Community is tough to maintain when you have a city with so much turnover, resident turnover, I would say, where people are moving in and out, in and out, in and out, and then you have so many immigrants coming in. Nothing against immigrants in general, but it's hard to build that shared sense of community when you have people who don't necessarily speak the language, people who don't share the values or have a shared tradition. It makes it a little bit tough to build that community up. And then you have isolated pockets of different places where people don't necessarily help each other. Families, I mean, that's a big thing. If you want Denver to thrive and move to a better position, got to make Denver a better place for families. Unfortunately, so much of this policy, whether it's the schools, the crime, the violence, the homelessness, it's not the best place to raise a family. And then citizens, I mean, you just need to get organized, show up at meetings. So that's city council meetings, your county meetings, any type of local government meetings, and show up to town halls. Start getting organized. Organize your own little town halls. Find people in your community who see some major problems, maybe agree on some specific policy issues, and start getting organized. And really, support local businesses and small businesses in the city. That's really the backbone or the lifeblood. We've seen so many businesses being closed recently. It's really unfortunate. But what we don't want to see is just Walmart and all these corporate chain restaurants and everything just move in. I mean, is that really what you want your city to look like? You want it to look like an airport, where you have just all these commercial businesses, the same fast food you can get in any city? Or do you want small local businesses that are part of the community that actually owned and belong to people who live there? I think that'd be huge. So, find who your city councilor is. I think that's important if you live in Denver. There's all these different districts here. It looks like 11 of them. You can find who represents you in the city council. There's some at-large members as well, and start figuring out how they're voting. Build a connection with them. Contact them, get involved. Let them know that you are an active member of your community and you want to support pro-family, pro-business policies and start holding them accountable. Elections have consequences. We'll see. You got years to plan. You got years to come up with a new candidate for office. So start getting involved now. So I'd say, what can you do? Well, I think really all this change only takes one person. It's that individual level where we can each do something, and it starts with one person. But find out who represents you, show up to whatever you can, and stand up and speak out. Don't be afraid to use your voice, do it the right way, and you can have a positive impact. So it's crazy what's happening in the city. Just some of the quick headlines here where a lot of this information came from. You can find all of these things at freestatecolorado.com. But here's the Denver Post: Denver's most heartbreaking restaurant closures of 2024. So unfortunate. I mean, you see all these places getting shut down. Um, so check these articles out if you want to dive into some of the details about what I said. Everything's documented, folks. I'm not making anything up. I mean, it might seem sensational, but this is the reality of Denver. And how great would it be to see Denver as the center of prosperity, of liberty, this place where, it's a shining beacon on the hill. Let's get to that point, right? Here's inflation rising again in Metro Denver. And I mean, this is from December 12th, 2024. Here's this mental health survey that came out in September 16th, 2024. Colorado's being one of the worst states there. Dig into that. Here's December 11th, 2024. City targets parking lot crime with lighting regulations. That's right. They're going to force businesses to put up extra lights. So there you go. The new guidelines effectively put some of the onus on parking lot operators to curb car thefts in the city. Officials said the city will initially conduct an outreach to operators, give them time to upgrade their facilities. Failure to do so could result in a fine of up to $9.99 or license suspension or even revocation. So there you go. You're pushing out the parking lots, which of course might be part of this bigger plan. As we see here in this Denverite article from December 9th, Denver wants to get rid of minimum parking requirements. So there you go. Get rid of the parking lots. As you can see there, get rid of the requirements. Nobody's coming into the city at that point because it's nearly impossible to get in and out in a reasonable amount of time. December 9th, 2024, the Gazette. Council defends nonprofit that report says failed to deliver mental health promise despite millions sent. So there's mental health issues there. The city council of Denver is still giving them money, even though the money's not being used properly. Millions of taxpayer dollars. Absolutely crazy. Here's Denverite. What to know about Denver's $150 or more sidewalk fees coming in 2025. So that's property owners could pay a total of about $40 million in annual fees to pay for a long, sprawling sidewalk project. So $40 million being taken out of the economy for sidewalks. You can check out the Denver City Council here, links at Free State Colorado. But here's the needle exchange program, the amendment they want to make. Striking line C here, which is to operate at least 1,000 feet from an elementary and or secondary school meeting. So there you go. Eliminate that 1,000-foot requirement so they can be closer to schools. Not a great idea, folks. Come on. Absolutely ridiculous. Here's an article here from the National Review. Denver spent $150 million in untracked expenses for homelessness shelters. So $150 million, totally untracked. This is November 26, 2024. Absolutely crazy. Article here on the Doom Loop. Denver revenue forecast declines amid increase in spending, decrease of sales tax income. So there you go. So the sales tax income is decreasing. The growth is still there, but it's not quite what they expected. We'll see how this trend continues, but nonetheless, not too surprising that we can see this possibly continue. And then Denver's budget will see its smallest growth in 14 years aside from the pandemic. So there you go. Is it a doom loop? Maybe, but it's really going to take citizens to get involved, get together, and make a positive impact. I want to see Denver turn around. I want to see something change in the city. Let's move in the right direction. We can create a free state of Colorado. Truly believe that, and it starts at that local level. So thank you very much. Again, take care. Really appreciate everybody, and stay safe this holiday season.